vision going, keep that prayer going, because things are percolating. So that's the first vibration of children for us. So that's good. Okay. Couple of semi-sad experiences. My credit card was stolen, but I didn't report it because the thief is spending less every month than I do. You know, there are blessings in everything. That's not true. My credit cards are safe and well. And then a second one is my friend went to his doctor, and his doctor gave him 6 months to live, but he couldn't pay his bill. So his doctor gave him another 6 months. There we go. There we go. So this morning we're talking about those antagonistic thoughts that get in your mind. Spiritual principles to live your best life starting now. And we're going to talk about keeping a clear heart. Keeping a clear heart. There is a kind of metaphysical passageway through which anyone who fully wants to enter into the kingdom of heaven or the mysteries of the kingdom has to pass. And you have to make yourself sufficiently lean and spiritually fit so you dismantle any antagonism you hold in your mind, any sense of betrayal, any sense of unrest, anything. You have to get yourself to be pure in order to pass through that way into living more fully from the Christ expression of who you are. In the new year, our series is Spiritual Principles to Live Your Best Life Starting Now, and we'll be looking at specific attitudes of consciousness that Jesus was teaching in the parables to uncover some of our most ferociously guarded ego indulgences, the ones that I really should get rid of this habit, but I love it too much to give it up, or it's just a part of my life. Attitudes of consciousness that we can fine-tune. You know, when you get spiritually quickened in unity, it's really wonderful, because as you grow in your spirituality, your lessons become more refined and more subtle. The things that you need to kind of mature in your consciousness are kind of more subtle. You don't have so much cosmic 2x4s in the head of, you need to fix this in your life kind of thing. Also on Monday nights in Frontiers of Consciousness, Jacob is doing a similar thing. He calls it consciousness competencies. And I really think that's kind of what we want to work with in this series. Consciousness competencies that Jesus was teaching in the parables. So that we, as I said, can uncover some of our most ferociously guarded indulgences, so we grow into the fuller, we keep expanding into the fullest version of the Christ Spirit within us. So as we begin today, I want to ask you, have you ever had the experience of just letting something go without receiving full payment, right? Have you ever had to hound someone to pay you what they owed you? Have you ever had to hound a workman to finish the work that he promised? Have you ever worried endlessly that you might not get your just rewards, right? All of that kind of thought that circulates when we find ourselves in the midst of an experience. Last Labor Day, I bought all new appliances for my kitchen, refrigerator, dishwasher, and gas range, still a gas range. And they were delivered 3 times and broken every time. And so I stayed home, and it was interesting because the delivery guys that contracted, they were all damaged on the left side and the front with all the stuff broken off. And the delivery guys said, "We think it's the forklift driver loading the stuff." So I called the merchant and I said, "They think it's the forklift." They said, "We can't be bothered with that." I thought, okay. So anyway, this antagonistic thought is rolling in my mind. The dishwasher came, but it wasn't the model I ordered. But I accepted it, because at this point, I just did. And then the refrigerator came, and it was put in place, but it wasn't the right one, and the merchant wouldn't take it back. And then they got so angry with me, they canceled my stove. It never showed up, and they have yet to refund me. And so I was hugging my refrigerator, And I was hugging my stove because it wouldn't go out. It just wouldn't leave. I kept telling it. I found a charity that I could donate it to where they sell secondhand appliances, all Maytag appliances that I was changing out. Beautiful appliances. And so I was hugging and said, there's a new one. And nothing was working. And so I had to examine where in my thought am I contributing to this fiasco. I opened up a dispute on my credit card, and I bought the appliances in Labor Day, and it's December, and I'm still praying fervently for right outcomes, right? And so there's something, I have to say, there's something stuck somewhere. It'll all come together. 1/3 of all the words that Jesus spoke that were recorded were in the form of parables. And the parable of the two debtors was the first recorded one in the series. I think there's 23, don't quote me on that. Anyway, it was the first in the series, so it's reasonable to assume that its position in first delivery might have some kind of special importance, right? And so the parable of the two debtors, let me remind us of it. It's found in Luke chapter 7, verses 40 through 43. The teacher said to them, I always like that, because every time Jesus is speaking, he's teaching something. He's always saying to the disciples, how long do I have to be with you guys before you get this stuff? But he's always teaching something, and he teaches in story and metaphor. So he says, 2 debtors owed a certain creditor. One owed him 500 denarii, and the other owed him 50. Neither had anything to repay him, and so he forgave both of them freely. Which of the debtors will love him more? Answering, Simon Peter said, I suppose the one who was freely forgiven the most. And he said, you have rightly judged. You have rightly judged. But we'll see today in our story the more advanced idea that in the story is, I suppose the one who was freely forgiven the most, I would say it was the one who forgave the most, the creditor, right? Who was set free? Who was set free? The creditor. With all my appliances, who's going to be set free the most when all of it, do you think the merchant cares that my dishwasher is the wrong model? I don't think so. So, in metaphysical spiritual interpretation, Jesus is always the Christ spirit within us. All the other characters in the story are aspects of our consciousness. So the one debtor holds more debt in his mind. The second one holds even more debt. There are thought people. And the Christ spirit within, Jesus in the story is asking, who in this circumstance is going to receive true freedom? Who? Neither debtor had anything to repay the debt. They had no money. They didn't offer any labor in exchange for the debt that there's any record of. They didn't offer any gratitude or appreciation. And the creditor, bless you, the creditor forgave them both freely without conditions. He didn't say, well, I'll let it go for the time being. He didn't say, well, I'll extend the due date. He didn't say, I'll forgive it, but I'm going to throw it up to you for the rest of your life. Been in those marriages, He set the debtors free, but more importantly, as we said, he set himself free. He set himself free. There's a little saying that was popular years ago, don't sweat the small stuff. Do you remember it? And then they added on to that, it's all small stuff, right? And now there's a new sentence, blessed is the one who can let the small stuff pass without comment. How do you do with that one? How do you do with that one? One of the indulgences of the ego that many of us carry is antagonistic thought. And that's where we replay an injustice over and over in our minds, keeping it very much alive. Where? In us. Do you think my appliances or my merchant leaves them sleep at night? I don't think so. Do you think every time I open up that refrigerator, I'm blessing it, it's the wrong one? Anyway, keeping a clear heart and mind is a rite of passage. And it has to be mastered because debt of any kind, owed to you or owed by you, can lurk just beneath the surface of your mind, and it can create a huge snag in your spiritual growth, in your personal growth, in your health, and in your happiness, and even in your abundance. So to forgive doesn't mean to arrive at a place of indifference towards someone who's hurt you or harmed you or owes you something. But until you rid yourself of the highly destructive sense of injustice that you carry in your body, you'll never find peace and well-being. It'll be very difficult to find peace and well-being. Believe me, I have hugged my stove and I have hugged my refrigerator, trying to make peace with them. Can you do that with inanimate objects? Yes. Everything has energy. Everything has life. So before we use any spiritual law, we'll have to first clear any minefield of debt owed by us or owed to us. Clear that out of our mind and heart and just be. And it's only when we are in a consciousness of internal harmony that we can be guided to what's highest and best. That from that internal sense of peace, that we can allow right resolution, resolutions to come. You may think you don't dwell in resentment or frustration or repeat scenarios of injustice, let them replay in your mind. But as I wrote this, I thought about how long do we wrestle with feelings of feeling obligated to do something we don't want to do. You know, I really need to take that package back to the post office. You know, that kind of thought. Do you hold yourself hostage to things you should do? Well, they had me over for dinner, and so I should probably have them back over for dinner, right? Do you hound others to own up to their responsibilities? Do you besiege your family to carry their fair share of the load? My mom was in the nursing home for 7 years. My brother's office was 4/10 of a mile down the same street. He never visited, nor did he ever participate in helping with her care. Can you say antagonistic thought? We talked on the phone one time, and he screamed at me, "Cherie, you need 2 years away on a desert island somewhere." I said, "Precisely. Would you take care of Mom?" You know. Do you have a sense of entitlement about what's owed to you? Do you find yourself saying, "After all I've done for him," or "After all I've done for her"? That sense of entitlement. Do you keep a mental scorecard requiring full repayment of all accounts and past mistakes before the account will be closed? We say pay up. God says cease. Cease. Cease holding yourself hostage to toxic thought in your mind and in your body and in your circumstances. Cease holding antagonism in your mind and your heart. Love that's adulterated or made toxic will never open the door to peace and well-being. But when you admit the angel of beauty into your life and you seek love and you pursue what makes for the highest good for all, you will be led to right outcomes. It's that letting go and allowing God, let go and let God. I have 2 illustrations of that for you this morning. HP, Harold Perry, but we called him HP. HP was the first person who made an appointment with me when I became the minister in Nashville. And he was the manager of the bookstore, but he wanted to retire. So he came in and he met with me and he made it perfectly clear that he wanted my first priority to be finding his replacement. He said, I stayed until we had a new minister, and I will stay until you find my replacement. But please do so and do so quickly. He was manager of the bookstore for 23 years. So this wasn't something he was doing, you know, just I'm quit after 6 months. And so we did get a new person, and Harold continued to serve the ministry for many years until he moved to assisted living. And when he died, his family asked me to do the service. But he had moved to Clarksville, which was like an hour's drive outside of Nashville. And by the time I would meet with the family and research the eulogy and write the service, we're talking about, you know, a full day. And I was on vacation. Only I'd chosen to do a staycation because Ashley, my niece, was coming to be with me, We're together at most 3 times a year in each other's physical presence. I had these limited amount of days with Ashley, and it was going to take me a whole day to organize and do Harold's HP's service. So I was really torn between obligation to someone who was a friend and gave 20 years plus to the ministry and precious moments with Ashley. And I wrestled with it, because if I'd been out of town on vacation, there was nothing I could do but make a phone call, pray with the family, and visit them when I got back. But I was in town, and so what do you do? What do you do? Well, I made the decision to do the service. I let that antagonistic thought go, and I stopped thinking of the I, me, and mine self, what's in it for me instead of what's in it from me. And I made the decision to do his service. And like within the hour, Ashley got a phone call from her closest girlfriend who was visiting in Nashville. And so I was able to drop Ashley off for a wonderful half-day lunch time with her best friend while I went and did the service. And so it works out when you let go and let God, when you let the antagonism and the obligation and all the stuff go, it creates a space for the infinite intelligence of the universe to organize your life in beautiful and divine ways, right? We want to cleanse our mind and our heart of the idea that someone else can have or take our good. So the question is, how do we use the power of love to rid ourselves of antagonistic thought? And this is the next slide, guys. We use it by reaching out in largeness of heart so big that it ignores all littleness. And that's the slide, largeness of heart. I love this slide. See all that energy and light radiating out from you? You reach out in largeness of heart, so big that it ignores all littleness. Jesus said, "What is that to thee? Follow thou me." What are you thinking about? What are you radiating out in consciousness about some injustice in your life, some disagreement in your life? Because if you can pour that much love and light into it, what do you think the outcome is going to be? It's going to be pretty good, isn't it? And we forget. I have to remind myself every time I hug my new refrigerator that I don't like. I have to remind myself that I tell it I love it, but there's a better place for it, Well, we do this by practicing non-resistance. It's not a passive attitude. It's not an irresponsible, easy way out. It's not an apathetic indifference. It's an active expression of love. This is an active expression of love, which can work all manner of miracles. Now, in the storms that are around our state right now, California off the coast, we're experiencing big waves of water on the coast. Some of them are thought to be 40 feet high, big waves crashing in on the beaches. Well, I heard the story of a young woman who was a surfer, and she wanted to surf some of the big waves. So she went down to Half Moon Bay, Half Moon Bay below San Francisco, where she thought the waves were going to be 40 feet. When she got there, she said they were probably 60 feet high and 60 feet wide. And so she caught a wave, and she said it was the best ride of her life. Well, when she got into the funnel of the wave, it came crashing down on her. And I have that slide, fellow. This is what the waves look like there. This is Half Moon Bay right now. So that whole wall of water came crashing down on her, and she felt like she was under at least 30 or 40 feet, trapped. So in that moment, rather than I can't say there was nothing in the story that said she didn't panic. But what she did say is, "I love to surf." And she said, "I love this." And she said, and then I just relaxed. And when you relax in water, it'll bring you up. But all I heard at the end of the story was that the onshore rescue team was able to bring her to safety unharmed. But imagine that wall of water, that injustice in your life, all those appliances that aren't delivered correctly and are broken and come crashing down on you. And so it's just moving into that consciousness of reaching out in love so big that you don't sweat the small stuff, and it's all small stuff. And blessed is the one who can let the small stuff pass with what? Without comment. Right, right. Next slide is, when you live in the Christ consciousness of love, it grafts into you a spiritual genius. That's the infinite intelligence of the Christ that resolves all opposition and leads to the summit of your spirit, leads to divine right outcomes. And you can trust it. And as you practice it and you trust it and you see it work out, then you trust it again and you see it work out. And that builds your faith. You trust it again and you see it work out. Charles Fillmore says, love produces a love current in you, which when sent out with power, will break up and dissolve all opposing thoughts of antagonism and unrest in your soul. It will dissolve walls of water under which you feel trapped. He says the love current sets free a natural, equalizing, harmonizing, mystical force that in most of us is dammed up by the thousands of little perceived injustices that we're suffering under. When love harmonizes your consciousness, you find that your life is put in order, and that where there once seemed antagonistic thought, divine intelligence and divine love and trust will prevail. So this week, if there's something, what does this one say? Love grafts into you spiritual genius. And the next one says, divine love, manifest thyself in me. Let's put our hands on our hearts. Divine love, manifest thyself in me. Let me reach out in largeness of heart so big that it overcomes all the littleness, all the criticisms, all the angers, all the upsets, all the frustrations, all that antagonistic replay of resentment. Don't let someone else's closed heart tempt you to close your own, right? This week, if there's something disagreeable in your thought, cease. God says, cease. Cease to think about it and affirm divine love, manifest thyself in me. And so next slide, let's close with this affirmation together. And I love this whole idea of all the energy and all the light radiating out from you. You could say it's coming down into you, it's radiating out from you. God is omnipresent. Wait a minute, that's not the right way. Divine love produces a love current in you which breaks up and dissolves all thoughts of unrest in your mind. That's Charles Fillmore. Next slide is, let's close with this one again. Divine love, together. Divine love, manifest thyself in me. I let go of any unrest and let spirit within help me see this with love. I reach out with a heart so big that it ignores all littleness, and I find serenity and peace. And so it is. Amen. All right. I'll keep you posted on my appliances. They're all resolved now. All right, so let's take that idea into prayer. And if there's something disagreeable in you, some frustration that keeps replaying itself, just this morning, put it on the altar of God and let God alter it. That's one of my favorite things to do, where I step aside and just leave it there and move on with what's more important or what's in front of me to do. So let's take a moment. Take a deep breath in and center yourself in the poise of the Christ Spirit within you. And let love harmonize your body, your mind, your affairs, your circumstances. Divine love, manifest thyself in me. Let's affirm it. Divine love, manifest thyself in me. And then see yourself like some of our pictures in our slides this morning, with that light and energy all around you. And when you have these moments of connection and communion to the Christ within, it grafts into you a spiritual genius. A spiritual genius. There is an infinite intelligence that knows your needs, desires of your heart, that knows how to guide you into right outcomes, and that will do all the heavy lifting as you step back and allow God to be God in you. So feel in your heart a love current. And let it radiate out into the circumstances of your life. Let it radiate out to your loved ones. Let it radiate out to our world. And see it moving in and through every particle, every part of your life. I like to see it as a star with a trail behind it. And I see it circling overhead and around the people that I love as protection and safety and prosperity. And see that light zoom over to your house, where you live, spreading peace, harmony, a restful presence in your home. See it blessing all who enter. And see it circling around you, light, sparkling, golden, light, white, amber, violet, whatever color comes to mind. See that starlight circling around you as you leave your home, knowing you are protected, you are safe, you are in order, you are moving in love, in that love current. It says in Lamentations, the steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. His mercies never come to an end. They are new every morning, and great is your faithfulness. And so again, turning to that, any disagreement in your mind, just see that light swirling around it, dissolving it. Let's see it melting into nothingness. And then take a deep breath in and feel yourself at rest and at peace. The human self of you may not know the way to resolution, but the Spirit of God knows re-solution, the highest and best outworking. And at the end of all of that, there's joy. Joy for the completeness, joy for the disillusion, joy for the freedom you feel to be rid of unrest. All things work together for good for those who love God and are called according to his purposes. This morning our purpose is to cease in antagonistic thought, to shut the replay off, and to dwell in love. The steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. His mercies never come to an end. They are new every morning, and so are you. We turn our attention now to those for whom we are praying, the names in our prayer chest, your loved ones. I want to speak the name of a dear friend, Jackie, who passed this week. We can never get outside the love of our family and friends. And whether they're physically present to us or not, we feel their love, and we're able to extend our love. And so we hold the highest and best for our loved ones. We can affirm divine love is manifested in your life. Divine love is manifested in your life for others together. Divine love is manifested in your life. There can be no greater prayer. So we rest in the peace. We give thanks for the teacher. We stay open and receptive to fine-tuning the truth of our being so that we live the best version of ourselves in the Christ Spirit. And so it is. Together we all say, Amen.